Okay, so this video is going to cover solving percents by using proportions, right? So on the screen, I have the formula that is used in order to solve percents, and it looks like this. Percent over 100 is equal to part over whole. So this formula here essentially is just a proportion. So as long as we know how to solve proportions by cross multiplying, we should be able to comprehend how to solve percents using proportions. So let's figure out, how do we plug into this formula? So first off, the first ratio that I see there on the left-hand side, the percent over 100, right? So percent over 100. Now that 100 is always going to be there. It's always part of the formula. Now the percent, if you are given a percent in your problem like we are here, the question that we're given here says, what is 65% of 300? So they've given us 65%. So that's what the percent is. So to plug into this first example here, we would take the 65% and put that over 100. And that's the first part. Second part of our proportion is made up of the part over the whole. Now, I don't know about you, but way back when I was in school, I always got confused which one was the part, which one was the whole. So the one thing that kind of helped me to get stuck in my head, which one was what, was this. Look for the word of in your problem. All right, so we have the word of right here. Whatever number immediately follows the word of, so in our example is the 300, that is your whole. So that's going to go down in my denominator. So obviously we're solving for the part, right? So here we have 65 over 100, that's our percent over 100, is equal to part over whole. We're solving for the part, our whole is 300. And this is how we plug and chug into the formula. Now, in order to actually solve this, so we have to do a little bit of calculation, starting with 65 times 300, right? So cross multiplication, we are multiplying across our proportions here. So 65 times 300 is 19,500. And that's going to equal 100 times the x, which is 100x, giving us this simple equation to solve. So this is a one-step solving equation problem. So in order to solve this equation here, remember we're solving for x. This is 100 times x. So we do the opposite of multiplication and we divide. Dividing both sides by 100, so the 100 cancels out on the right-hand side, and we are left with x is equal to 195. So what is 65% of 300? What's 195? Our next example here says 80 is what percent of 1,630? So again, taking a look at our formula here for percents, let's plug in, starting with the percent over 100. Now, taking a look at our problem here, I don't see a percent, right? There's no percent symbol, there's no number with the percent following it. We're not given the percent. This actually wants us to find out what is the percent. So that's actually what we're solving for. So that percent there, that's going to be our x, and we're going to put that over 100. And this is going to equal, well, remember what I said in the last example. In order to figure out which one's your part, which one's your whole, right, look for the word of. Immediately following the word of is going to be the whole. So after the word of, I have 1,630. So I'm going to plug that down in the denominator for my whole. That means the 80 is the part. Okay? So this is how we would plug into it. And now we just need to cross multiply in order to solve. So cross multiplying here, x times 1,630. Or I'm going to put the 1,630 in front with the x behind it, and that's going to equal, well, 100 times 80, which is 8,000. In order to solve this equation here, so again, remember this is a one-step solving equation problem, so we are going to divide both sides by 1,680 to get that x is equal to 4.9 0.01 is what I get when I plug this into the calculator. Now, depending on your book or your instructor, typically we would round our percent off. Now, it depends to either 1 or 2 decimal places here. I would go ahead and cancel off these last 2 decimal points here, giving me 4.9% here. Okay, so our last example says this. 65 is 80% of what number? So let's start with the left-hand side of our proportion. Let's fill in that percent over 100. So the percent that I see here is 80. So we would put 80 over 100 is equal to our part over our whole. So again, looking for the whole first, we look for the word of. Whatever immediately follows the word of is what our whole is. Now, in this particular example, it says what? So that means that's actually what we're solving for. We're solving for the whole in this particular one, which means this 65 sitting off over here, that's the part. All right, so we need to fill in the blank there. All right, so 80 over 100 is equal to 65 over x is what we're going to be solving in this example here. So that means we need to cross multiply. 80 times x is 80x is equal to 100 times 65, which is 6,500. So in order to wrap up this problem here, right, all we have to do is divide out our 80 to both sides, giving us that x is equal to, I'm getting 81.25 here. And again, depending on your book and on your instructor, you may be able to leave this as your answer. They may want to round that to a percent, so it just depends. So 65 is 80% of an 81.25.